All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our sixth session of Basecamp Briefings powered by Summit Strategy. I can't believe we're already to July. The year is just like passing by so quickly. So I'm excited to get into the final quarter of the fiscal year and see what kind of fun our government's going to let us have this year. So like any serious climb, success starts at base camp. This is where we are going to break down complex RFPs. We're going to sharpen our BD and capture strategies and give you the tools to navigate the terrain ahead. Just like you know from us, there's no fluff, no BS. We just want to talk about real strategies to help you reach that summit and help you reach your goals. So you have seen the news and all the LinkedIn postings and the articles and alerts, but you may not have read all of the documents yet because there's a lot to get through. But don't worry, we have. And we're going to walk you through and break down what's new and what's next in terms of both GSA OASIS Plus and the GSA Multiple Award Schedule, also known as MAS. My name is Kristen Maycumber. I am the founder and CEO of Summit Strategy. I have spent my entire career helping government contractors and professional services firms win more work by building better systems, not just chasing shiny RFPs. I am joined today by Carol, our resident expert on GSA and self-scoring proposals. She has been supporting clients with GSA schedules since 1999. And she's worked on self-scoring proposals since the original Alliant in 2007. She has helped win 70 domain awards to date on OASIS Plus, which is about an 88% win rate. And obviously more announcements are continuing to come out. So she's looking forward to nailing that other 12% so she can have a perfect win rate. At Summit Strategy, we specialize in strategic BD, capture, proposal development, marketing, and training. We've supported hundreds of clients and helped them build sustainable growth engines. So today, again, we're here to share some practical insights, a healthy dose of radical candor, and important strategies to help you approach both OASIS Plus and GSA MAS with a winning mindset. If we don't get to all your questions, we will make sure that we respond directly on this LinkedIn event page after the event. So just keep an eye there. And then we will send an email with the slides and a link to the recording as well. All right, so in this session, we are going to break down, first we'll start with OASIS Plus, and we're going to talk about what's new and then just how to get ready now. We cannot say that enough. Now is the time to get ready as we wait for that on-ramp to open. Then we're going to jump into MAS, and we're going to talk through the refresh number 27 that just came out a couple weeks ago. We're going to talk about what's new and then how to get it right. And then we'll close with just how to ask for help. There's a lot of information being flown around and thrown at you. And so we're going to break down some simple ways that you can get some help on how to win these vehicles. All right, so what have we seen lately? We have already seen a bunch of prominent contracts canceled, with agencies told to use other contracts or look to open market procurements. There are also those that have been stuck in protest hell or evaluation purgatory for what seems like ever, or those that are on that indefinite pause while their fate is decided and we're just left to wait and see what happens. There's very few that are actually still proceeding and planned, as planned, but maybe it's more than one. So we have this theory that GSA has an evil plan for world domination, or otherwise known as contract consolidation, if you want to be formal about it, which really just includes leveraging all of its existing GWACs and IDIQs. And as you can see from this slide here, GSA has a wealth of IT-related GWACs, and it creates as many opportunities as possible for small businesses. And now with OASIS Plus opening up and rolling, it has a vehicle for complex, custom, non-IT services to serve as a companion to the MAS focus, which is on commercial services and solutions and commercial off-the-shelf style products. So our predictions are coming true. If you remember from our last session, we had Carol's crystal ball. It seems to be all the things that we think are happening are actually coming to fruition. So let's talk about OASIS Plus and jump in. Phase one of OASIS Plus, a couple years ago, introduced 8 domains. GSA always said that they would add 5 more domains this year, and it was believable because in phase one, those functional areas could actually score points. Now GSA has actually made it real. So the agency just posted an RFI that had an updated summary of those domains and was looking for industry feedback to help determine how to set up the scoring. So these are the 8 domains, original domains, just for reference. This is what we had from phase one. We broke these down in our previous Basecamp briefings, but you can see them there, management advisory, all the way down to enterprise solutions, which was for the unrestricted contract only. So that's the old stuff. We've already kind of talked about that. So out with the old, in with the new. Let's talk about what is new. And first, we want to start with a reality check, just like we usually do with these sessions. GSA has historically been rather predictable in how it manages its big GWACs. But this year, GSA has a mandate to quadruple its contract portfolio, even as it cuts its staffing by 50%. Even with the help of AI, which we know they're using, that's a big lift. So the agency is making a lot of huge changes to what it does and how it does it. So while we've seen some solid information so far, keep in mind that until we really see the phase two, the final phase two RFP, which hasn't been released, we're really just swagging it here and giving you our analysis and our best judgment based on our years of expertise following these vehicles. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Carol, and she's going to walk through all the new stuff that's been happening with OASIS Plus first, and then we'll dig into GSA MAS after that. Carol, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Kristen. All right, so here you can see the 5 new domains that will be coming out in phase 2. These domains apply to both the unrestricted and the small biz and socioeconomic set-aside, or SBSE, master contracts. They're essentially unchanged from 2023. With the RFI, GSA also provided candidate NAICS codes, so that lets us do a little bit more research now. The first of the new domains is business administration. You can see that there are many services listed here that could also overlap to different domains, so it can take a bit of digging to determine the best fit for you. And sometimes the answer is both or all of them. We won't spend a lot of time on these slides now because you'll get the deck and be able to study them with the NAICS codes and the sample services at your leisure. And remember that these are just sample services, they're not all inclusive. Now, since we had the NAICS code, we were able to do a little digging around to discover, who's buying these services and how it spreads out. So you can see that here, the approximate sales for each NAICS code in business administration over the last 3 full fiscal years. And there's about a 70-30 split that's in favor of large businesses. But still, $3 billion is a pretty good market for small businesses. To the right there are the top 3 buyers and the procurement vehicles that they have used prior to O Plus or OASIS Plus. Human capital, the next domain, is a pretty broad catch-all category, as you can see by the long list of example services there. This company encompasses a wide variety of tasks. And this also has a large ratio of large business to small businesses getting the revenue. It's about 3 to 1. And the majority of the work there is going to some kind of education or training types of support. And you can see a lot of the predecessor contracts that are going to be rolled up most likely into OASIS Plus Phase 2. And for financial services, it's a smaller domain just generally in terms of revenue, but it's still pretty respectable. You see on the next slide. but yet large businesses have an even greater share of this one at 4-1. But again, still $1 billion is a pretty good market. Here's another really wide-ranging domain for marketing and public relations. A lot of NAICS codes there and a lot of example services, again, running the gamut. And small business gets a bigger chunk here than the other domains with around 40% of sales. The social services, again, this is the 5th domain. Again, it has a long list of example services and a long list of candidate NAICS codes because it's incorporating, many different kinds of health and social services. And here, the split out of 9 billion, large businesses getting about 3.5 times what small business is getting, but overall, it's still a pretty good spread. Now that we've taken a quick look at these new domains, what's next? Now, there's still a lot that we don't know about phase 2, but there are some key things that we do know that'll help you to get ready for it. Okay, what we don't know. GSA may move away from the on-ramp process altogether and keep the solution evergreen. They've said they want to do that. Evergreen meaning open for offers year-round. It's unclear if or when that will happen or how it will affect current contractors, if at all. The exact timing for the on-ramp is also murky, but it was originally planned for 2025. And it's still possible that we could see something, by late September. The scoring for OASIS Plus considers both project history and corporate qualifications. The points add up differently by industry. So right now, we don't know the exact scoring for the new domains, because after all, that's what that RFI that just came out is all about. We also don't know what effect the removal of climate regulations from the master contracts will have. They counted for some points in the phase 1. So what's going to happen with that? We just don't know yet. And the last, GSA began rolling out award notices for phase 1 more than 6 months ago, and even more are still coming between now and October. With any luck, phase 2 will be announced before all the bidders have retired, but we can't really be sure. So if we don't know any of this, what the heck do we know? Well, right now, as of now, regardless of when your contract is awarded, you will have a full 5-year period of performance in the base period. But the option year will be shortened so that all the contracts will end at the same time. And by contracts, I mean like the women-owned contract or the service-disabled veteran-owned contract. Those along with HubZone, those master contracts were awarded first, so they'll end a few months earlier than the others. The general scoring methodology with its 5 main categories, relevance, past performance, federal experience, business systems, and certifications, that's not likely to change. And while we don't know the exact configuration of points for the new domains, we can make some pretty darn good educated guesses, so we're already preparing for that. I think GSA will move quickly, and my crystal ball, such as it is, says that maybe by September they'll publish draft scorecards. And between revising phase 1 and providing phase 2, that'll be 25 different scorecards. I think we'll see the final RFP not long after that, and proposals due maybe by the end of this calendar year. Remember, this is a swag, but with emphasis on the systematic part of the guess. The online submission portal, known as Symphony, it's a really powerful system. It is also not user-friendly. And like any system that's holding petabytes or even exabytes of information, It is slow. It will crash, and it doesn't always save correctly. That is not going to change. And if Symphony doesn't make you say bad words repeatedly, here's something that will. You're almost certain to miss something. Forget to post a document or not tag it correctly, miss the chance to raise your score or even get an additional contract. All told, there are more than 70 discrete ways to bid on OASIS Plus. So that's why we're talking about this so early. It's going to be a big lift, and it's never too early to start working on it. And it's not just new offers we're talking about. On-ramp is a term that specifically refers to allowing new offerers to get contracts. But there's also domain extension, which is allowing those existing OASIS contractors to propose and add new domains to their contracts. And there's another term you might hear called lateral springboarding, which allows existing small business contractors to add other small business contracts. So, for example, if you just got the total small business contract and now you've just gotten your HubZone certification, you can go back and do a springboard to add the HubZone contract to your portfolio. Each one of these is going to involve full-blown proposals. So whether you're new to OASIS Plus or looking to extend your reach, you're still going to need to have all your scoring and your substantiation ready. So what does all of this mean? What does it boil down to? Let's break it down one by one. What are the readiness moves that you need to make now to build your OASIS Plus proposal? First, you need to select your QPs, your qualifying projects. You can have up to 5. Each domain is different, but for all of them, the vast majority of points come from these projects. QPs need performance within 5 years of the proposal due date. Generally, at least 1 year of performance must be complete if it's a multi-year project. Domains have varying minimum thresholds for annualized contract values. But these requirements are just for starters. They don't score you any points. The points come from a dozen different factors. Relevance to the NAICS codes and types of work, like on the slides we just saw. Scale, which considers both project dollar value and the number of staff involved. Management and staffing, that refers to managing subcontractors, meeting personnel security requirements, or executing surge requirements. And that's executing, not just having it on the contract. Integrated experience, that means having broad experience across multiple labor categories or across multiple functional areas, like the different domains. Each domain counts as a functional area. And there's specialized experience, like environmental remediation or urgent and emergency facilities management response. If 3 or more of your QPs have satisfactory or higher ratings, then they can score points. There are also points if the QPs come, if they're task orders from multiple award IDIQs or GWACs. You can also get points for having federal prime contracts, and that can be whether they're QPs or even if you bring in additional projects for those points. There's even a way that you can combine task orders to serve as a single QP if you need that to get to the dollar value. Beyond project experience, there are a few more points available. If you have these quals, gather the paperwork, but don't invest the time and the money and the effort to get them if it's not otherwise on your corporate radar. You can get a couple of points if you have certain business systems. Some domains do allow points for a facility clearance. And finally, corporate certifications like ISO or CMMI can provide a point. Phew. And Yeah, that's not all. There are also a bunch of administrative and business/legal elements that don't score you points, but they will sure get you kicked out or delayed if you miss them. There's a cybersecurity scrim questionnaire that you must submit. No, that's not a full-blown plan, just a questionnaire. You'll need to demonstrate that your company is financially responsible and has adequate resources to successfully perform a 10-year GWAC contract. And you'll need to demonstrate your ability to retain high-quality staff with professional employee compensation plans and an overtime policy. Then, if it's applicable, you'll need copies of any teaming agreements, joint venture agreements, and/or novations. If you're a large business, you'll need a subcontracting plan. And while you can share resources through parent or affiliate companies, you'll have to submit a Merkle for that, a meaningful relationship commitment letter. Pro tip, make each one of these a separate file. Even though some of them are related. They have different prompts in Symphony, and you don't want them to get overlooked. Now let's move on to the MAS program. Yeah, you thought I forgot about pricing, didn't you? GSA tried to, because as we all know, the pricing competition is on the task order level. But thanks to a protest, GSA had to add pricing to Polaris, one of their other contracts, and they did so for OASIS Plus at the same time. But they made it as easy as possible for themselves and coincidentally for you. Every OASIS Plus contractor has these 20 labor categories. Take a moment and look at them. And I'm betting your anxiety closet just blew wide open right about now because you've never seen half of these positions and don't know what the heck to do with them. That's certainly what happened a couple of years ago. Chill out. It's okay. Not only did GSA give us these labor categories, they also gave us the acceptable price range. So you're going to take those 20 labor categories and throw a dart in between those two columns on the left. You're going to put those results into the price template. Now you're going to take your standard indirect rate buildup or your simplest and highest if you have more than one. For this exercise, GSA essentially set profit at 7.5%, but you can change it if you want. You're going to provide your indirect basis of estimate. If you have letters from DCAA, DCMA, or another cognizant federal agency, you can use those. Otherwise, submit a copy of your indirect rates as they're generated from whatever your accounting system is. Now hit save, upload, and enjoy your favorite beverage because you're done. Seriously, that's it. I mean, you can make it harder. For example, you can propose multiple indirect rate pools. You could even propose direct rates that exceed that range, and then you'd have to provide a direct rate basis of estimate as well. But why would you do that when you don't need to? And you will probably never see these particular labor categories ever again. These LCATs are not mandatory. I mean, seriously, what engineering firm is ever going to use PR specialists or teachers on a task order? This entire exercise is so that GSA can determine that you know how to build a solid, fair, and reasonable price, and you can describe your methodology in a believable manner. So make it easy on yourself now and save the real pricing efforts for the task orders. End of. Now go get that beverage. Now here's another reality check, though. Given the level of complexity involved, it takes way more time than it should to find the points. Sifting projects takes 10 times longer than it should. Oh, and there are caps on all of those scoring factors that we looked at, so that in many cases, the math doesn't math. 2 + 2 only equals 3. All your best contracts combined might not get you to the 36 points you need, So you might need to start looking for a teaming partner. And if that's the case, you need to know that sooner rather than later. And then when you get the points you need, you're going to need to document it all by finding and tagging the document so that GSA will agree with you. And then you got to get it all into Symphony correctly. So yeah, it'll take time. Okay, now take a deep breath because we really are moving on to the MAS program now. And believe it or not, MAS is a lot easier in some respects than OASIS Plus or any point-based proposal. But yet it's the granddaddy of them all, because while you don't have to accumulate points, you do have to document and support everything. The contracting officer will want to see solid evidence that you have already successfully sold the products or performed the services, establishing that there is a market for what you sell and that you compete well in that market. Oh, what's new with MAS? You know, GSA frequently updates the documents due to changes in the FAR or various laws and guidelines. And given what we've seen and heard about FAR 2.0, expect that pace to increase in the near term. They also add or delete SINs, the special item numbers, the categories, or they alter the acceptable scope under a SIN. They will delete SINs that have low demand or revenue where it costs more to administer the contract than it earns in revenue. So now let's take a look at the latest updates. Refresh 27. The MAS RFP comprises a bunch of documents, and surprise, surprise, they're not real well organized. GSA often announces changes in advance, but the SF30 contract that should summarize the changes is incomplete or sometimes downright inaccurate. So when an advance notice comes out, scan it closely, first so that you can compare what they tell you in advance to what actually comes out, but in particular because if the changes are going to affect your contract, you can reach out to your contracting officer and start work on a plan B so that your sales aren't interrupted. Notably, the SAM.gov package is not comprehensive. The 16 documents on SAM don't include the price proposal templates or PPTs, or the commercial sales practices or CSP template, the subcontracting plan template, or many other SIN or category specific files that are hosted in various places on GSA's MAS pages. These files are often updated in sync with the refresh, but not linked from SAM or otherwise provided with any notice at all. So it's always a bit of an Easter egg hunt to go find everything. And that's government efficiency for you. So what are the solicitation changes? For Refresh 27, there are a few unsurprising administrative changes in the main solicitation instructions and some clarifications or easements of requirements. But there are two things we really need to talk about. The waiting period if your contract expires or is canceled, and transactional data reporting. This chart shows in yellow how many companies don't hit the minimum sales target. And at first that's expected because it can take a while to start successfully marketing your contract and winning task orders or purchase orders. But look at year 6 and beyond. The bar is even higher, and a ton of companies still aren't getting there. The minimum sales threshold exists to make sure that getting on schedule is worth your time, and it's worth to obtain and manage the contract, and it's worth GSA's time also to administer it. GSA's historically been kind of lax about enforcing this rule, but they mean business now. They've actually doubled the mandatory waiting period to resubmit from 1 year to 2 if your contract is canceled for not making this minimum threshold. So you need to be sure you're completely ready before you start down this path. And if you're not sure, talk to Kristen. Now let's look at TDR. After 9 years as a voluntary pilot program, TDR is now required for every product on the MAS program, as well as the cloud computing SIN. I'm not sure why just that one. GSA intends to extend it to all SINs in the future because it helps them compare prices and make sure that your offer is competitive. And it helps them to assess the market overall with pretty current data. TDR requires monthly reporting on 16 data points. And as you can see by looking, it's pretty geared towards products right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how GSA adjusts it to incorporate services. And they're going to have to do that sooner rather than later because since many companies have both products and services on their schedule, it's going to affect them because if now they say if you have any TDR SIN at all, your entire contract is now part of the program. So if you have a mix of products and services, you'll be getting a mod fairly soon from GSA telling you that you're now required to participate in the TDR process, reporting on those data points. TDR makes building a new offer a lot easier. You don't have to complete the commercial sales practices form, which is a real pain. You don't have to identify the most favored customer, and the price reductions clause does not apply because you're reporting data monthly. These changes are huge because for good or ill, the most favored customer and the price reductions clause, those have been the defining features of the MAS program for more than 25 years. If you're not required or allowed to use TDR as part of a new offer, you must incorporate these forms and processes into your offer and your contract management activities, and you'll report sales on a quarterly basis. So bottom line, without TDR, you have less reporting work, but it's harder to keep your contract in compliance. This is particularly true for products where prices might fluctuate frequently, but it's also true for services. Unfortunately, you can't opt into TDR if you don't have one of the affected SINs, or at least not yet anyway, but look to see an option become part of a future refresh, and I'm thinking it'll be in the fairly near future. Now we're going to look at some of the other changes that are part of MAS version 27. These changes you see here are part of all of the large category attachments, the 16 documents that come with the main solicitation. The language on AI is not really a surprise, but the government's making it explicitly clear, don't use their information to train your AI. The list of out-of-scope items, that's really not new. It's just syncing up with changes either from this refresh or earlier ones. GSA is retiring a bunch of SINs with version 27. When they retire a SIN, that means that new vendors can't bid on it, and buyers looking to use it will be told to go find other SINs for the same thing or to go for open market purchases. So what happens if your SIN gets deleted? You may be able to move your items to other similar SINs. I mean, there's around 300 SINs on the MAS program, and many of them have some overlap. But GSA often just deletes items without any interaction with you. So if that happens, you'll have to do a contract mod to add them back if there's another place for them. And if moving them isn't possible, then you're going to need to find other contract vehicles or sales avenues for those items. We're going to run through the next slides pretty quickly. In the office management category, the changes to the media categories are all around specifying now that the only books available on MAS are technical and engineering publications and subscriptions, industry reports, scientific or technical journals, instructional manuals and the like. For facilities in that category, GSA clarified that you can't make a new offer or hold a current contract with only single scope services like janitorial or plumbing. You have to provide a more complete facilities maintenance package. Exceptions are those services that have specialized expertise and health and safety requirements and certifications. But what this means is that you'll not be able to get or stay on schedule if your only service is like janitorial. If that's the case, though, reach out to those vendors that do provide the complete facilities management and maintenance, because there will certainly be opportunities for subcontracting for you, especially if you already have established customer relationships in a particular area. Of course, you should also be looking back a few slides earlier to when we were talking about OASIS Plus, because that facilities domain you saw that's part of phase 1, they'll be more than happy to have you on OASIS Plus. In the furniture category, this sin has clarified that it specifically excludes certain items, such as office supplies, personal accessories, protective sports gear. They'd already been deleted previously, but they just had to write a specific exclusion. The changes in the miscellaneous category show GSA is continuing to remove sins that were very low volume or clarifying sin descriptions to overtly rule out things, in this case, like promotional items that were very costly to administer, more so than was reasonable. And finally, in this case, the change is merely a minor correction. Most of the time, you won't even see GSA summarize little things like this. They'll just update the template without announcement. So remember to check periodically. Okay, get it right. GSA's job is to provide pre-vetted vendors to the rest of the federal government, as well as SLED agencies, tribal nations, quasi-governmental organizations, basically any governing body. So historically, they've been pretty forgiving if your offer was submitted and it wasn't quite right. The CO would likely open discussions, tell you what was missing or needed to be corrected, and give you time to fix it. Then they would negotiate if needed to make sure they were getting the best deal from you that they could. Reality, these days, yeah, they're probably not feeling so patient and nurturing, to be honest. Your CO's reality. Those contracting officers who are still employed are questioning their life choices right now for not taking the buyout. Even without actually using its AI tools, CODI and GSAI, to facilitate communications and vendor screening and compliance, not to mention all the junior contract staff they're hiring to replace the senior people they riffed, GSA staff are undertrained, under-resourced, overworked, and overwhelmed. And it's a lot. All this means that the always long waiting period after submitting an offer is only likely to get longer, at least in the near term. So it's more important than ever that you get it right the first time for your own sake, as well as your CO's. So with all that, what exactly do you need? To start, GSA gives you some homework and a very high-level briefing and questionnaire to be sure you're ready to begin. And those are mandatory. You have to do them and attest that you did them. Picking your sins. That sounds easy just to say it, but really sorting through all of those sins and nakes to find the right ones can be one of the hardest steps because there's so much to choose from. One way to make it manageable is to research target agencies that buy what you sell and scope out key competitors to see their sins and their products and services, and then compare those to what you want to offer to be sure you're in the right place. And then once you've done that, every offer comprises 3 main sections. Part 1 is generally equivalent to your business volume and other proposals. The unique part here is the official MAS price list, which you have to provide as part of your offer, and that lists your products and services, your pricing, your terms and conditions. It's designed for you to give your customers to help close your sales. And this is what's posted on the GSA e-library. Part 2 is equivalent to the management volume and other proposals. There are 4 factors, and in each factor, there are questions you have to answer. You actually key the answers directly into the e-offer system. For corporate experience, you can use key personnel experience as part of Factor 1 if your company is less than 2 years old. For the past performance, Factor 2, you'll need to have 3 CPARs or past performance questionnaires. Factor 3 is a quality plan, and that's not a full-blown quality management system type plan. Again, it's responding to a handful of questions. And for Factor 4, most SINs require only 1 relevant project experience. Some of them, like the IT services SINs, they require 2. And this is where those large category attachment documents come into play, because they provide SIN-specific requirements and sometimes point to those other documents I was talking about that you have to go digging for. The projects that you provide here, they generally have to have performance within the last 2 years, with at least 1 year complete if it's a multi-year project. You can potentially use one project across multiple SINs if it has scope. You'll also need to provide a copy of the statement of work or PWS to verify that scope. Pricing for MAS is a lot more complicated than for OASIS Plus. For starters, you have to make sure you've got the right price template. There's at least a dozen of them with category or SIN-specific elements to them. If your SIN requires one of those and you use the generic product or service template, your offer will almost certainly get either rejected or at least delayed, but you're not going to find out about that until however many months after you submit that the contracting officer actually reaches out to you. So you really want to make sure you're finding the right one. Most of those pricing templates have the industrial funding fee built in, but be sure that you do include it. Be sure it's there, because you don't want to wind up giving away that 0.75%. That's what you report quarterly, by the way, or monthly for TDR. You report your sales and remit that fee. Just like OASIS Plus, MAS requires full support for your offer. That could be published catalogs, or it could be invoices and contracts that show the CLINs and prices, or it could be market research that positions your offer within your industry. Back to you, Kristen.
Yeah, so if this is you right now, don't feel bad. You are not alone. We obviously do this for a living, and even we get confused sometimes because there's so many different templates and updates and refreshes and ways of looking at this thing. So it's easy to get confused, but the good news is, don't worry. We can, help, and we've got you covered here. So if you do need help, if you're watching this thinking, oh my gosh, this is great information, this is a lot, I don't even know where to start, you can call in the experts. And oh, by the way, that's us. So for OASIS Plus, we really help with the full thing. We have a proprietary tool built that is the scorecard, and it kind of walks through all these complex decisions that you need to make to decide which contract to pursue, which domains to pursue. So that's called our Summit OASIS Trail Scan. And you'll see there on the left under phase 1, that QR code, that'll take you straight to a landing page that has more information about that trail scan. But that's a flat fee, fixed fee, jump in. We help you build your score and figure out where you have major gaps. And then obviously, if you decide to pursue, we can help with your strategy, the full proposal submission. And then after you win, we're helping a lot of clients now that are already on OASIS Plus as part of those initial phase 1 awards. So we're helping them build out marketing plans, helping them train their teams, train their customers on how to buy through OASIS Plus. because there's some nuance there that the government needs to meet to be able to purchase something through OASIS Plus. And then obviously the big piece of this is winning task orders, right? You get a vehicle, you got to win some work on it. So we can help with all of those pieces. And then for GSA MAS, we said it at the beginning, Carol is our expert there. She's been doing GSA schedule submissions since the early days of GSA schedules. So for this, we start with a readiness assessment. Again, very similar to the OASIS Plus, where we've got a proprietary tool built out where we can help clients figure out what SINs they want to pursue, what categories fit best. So we do that as an initial flat fee. And then we can help with the initial or the full offer submission. And then once you're approved and on the schedule, same thing as with OASIS Plus, we can help with you marketing your schedule, managing your schedule, monitoring, making sure that you're compliant with all of those refreshes and mods. And then obviously, of course, winning those task order proposals. So feel free to reach out if you're interested in any of that support. We're happy to talk through a little bit more detail of what we can do and how we can help you. Up next, real quick, just a quick announcement. Our next LinkedIn Live is actually Monday, July 14th. So we're going to talk about your BD systems and how most of them are broken. And we'll talk through how to fix that. And then we're also planning something a little different for August. We're going to plan a sort of a Ask Me Anything type LinkedIn Live where we'll give you an opportunity to submit questions ahead of time. We'll come prepared. We want to spill the tea. We want to give you like our real candid answers to things because I know there's a lot of people asking questions and no one's really answering them. So we're going to come up with our ideas and thoughts and give you our perspectives. So keep an eye out for that announcement as well. And like anything, here's my contact information. If you're interested in chatting, that QR code there goes straight to my calendar. So you can book some time to talk through further how we can help you with OASIS Plus, GSA MAS, any other type of BD proposal training need as well. And again, thank you for joining. Looks like we had a good turnout here. So we'll go through and answer comments and questions on the LinkedIn event page. So keep an eye there. And then we will send out an email later today or tomorrow with the slides and the recording from this session. So again, thanks for joining, and we hope that you have a great rest of your week, and we hope to see you Monday for our next Basecamp briefing.